guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be playing with some makeup, getting ready with me style. I've got a whole bunch of new products that I've been testing out this month. I wanted to show you guys how they all apply on the face, give you a little bit of information about how they've been working for me so far, and I thought it might be fun to put together a sort of springy, soft, colorful look, which is what I came up with today. So if you guys want to join me for some makeup fun and see how I created this look, stay tuned. But first I want to say hello and welcome to any of you who are new here to my channel. My name is Lauren. Thank you so much for coming, hanging out, and chatting beauty with me today. I upload new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, so I hope you will come back, subscribe, stick around, and in the meantime, let's get to creating this look. So my skin is prepped, it's clean, I put sunscreen on. I don't think I'm actually going to use another separate primer. One of the things when it comes to like springtime makeup, I usually try to keep things a little bit more fresh, a little bit more simple, and really the big thing for me, especially if I'm going to be outside and in the sun, is making sure that I'm protecting my skin with SPF. So I think I'm just going to go straight in with what I'm using as my foundation today. This is the IT Cosmetics Your Skin But Better CC Plus Cream. As you can see by how skinny the bottle is, I've used this quite a bit. This is not the first tube of this that I've gone through. It is a product that I've repurchased multiple times. It has SPF 50, it uses all physical sunscreens, and I feel like it's very hydrating, nourishing on the skin. It covers really well, but it doesn't look cakey or like a mask. It's good stuff. So I'm just gonna pump a little bit of this out and I'm gonna start spreading it on my face. And then to blend this in today, we're gonna be trying out this new Sonia Kashuk beauty sponge. I just saw this at Target when I was there the other day because Sonia Kashuk just recently rebranded. So I don't believe she owns the brand anymore, but Target still owns the right to her name and the line, and they just launched all of the brushes and everything, so I wanted to see if this was any good. And I've used this a few times now, and what I will say is that, first of all, this sponge is massive. Like, if you look at how big the butt of this is compared to the size of my face, it does blend in product really quickly. It's not super firm, but it's not as soft as a beauty blender. Like, it's much more springy. So it's not uncomfortable to use by any means, but the texture is much more bouncy if you're someone that uses a traditional beauty blender. The other thing I feel like is that you really need to use the pointed side to get around your eyes and nose, because the butt of this is just so big, it's not as good for getting in to smaller areas. But I mean, that took me like 2 seconds to blend out, so there is nothing wrong with that. So for concealer today, we're gonna be using the new Makeup Revolution Conceal and Define. I've been wanting to get my hands on this for ages, but it's been sold out in the shades that I've been wanting to try, and it's just been kind of difficult. So finally it was back in stock and I was able to order it from Ulta. I chose the shade C6, which I believe is like a light medium with yellow undertones. I was kind of debating between C6, C7, and C8. I wasn't sure which one was going to be right for me, and I think this is good for me as a highlighting shade. Come the summer, if I'm very tan, I think it's going to be too light, but for right now I think that it works. And I've definitely seen a lot of reviews and people talking about this product. The wand is similar to Tarte Shape Tape, like it is a fatter doe foot, and when you first apply it, it does look like it's going to have a lot of coverage, but I think that the formula on this is definitely thinner than the Shape Tape. It doesn't have quite as much coverage to it, but it's not heavy and cakey, which is nice. So I feel like this is a good brightening concealer for highlighting the under eye. If you have very severe dark circles though, I don't know if it's going to give you enough coverage. So I'm not gonna set my face down right now because I'm gonna be using some cream products on my cheeks today. So I wanna keep that still fresh so everything will blend together. Once you set down your foundation with powder, if you try to go in with creams on top of it, the creams can kind of disturb the foundation, things can ball up, they can be difficult to blend, they can get patchy and weird. So it's definitely better, I find, to go cream on cream than to try to layer cream, powder, cream. So I'm gonna be using the Milk Makeup Matte Bronzer. This is literally all I have left of this. It's just this little nub. I love this thing. It's lasted me forever and I'm trying to pan it. But a little bit goes a long way, and honestly, I can't even imagine going through the full size of this because this little travel definitely has done the job. So I am just going to basically like draw a little line right where the hollow of my cheekbone is, and then I'm just gonna go in with my finger and start to blend this product in. You can kind of pat, you can use more circular motions, because again, we're kind of blending cream into cream, so I'm not really so worried about things looking weird and patchy if I kind of meld them together. I also find that this product works really well when you have the heat of your fingers to kind of help to melt it and blend it into the product underneath, as opposed to, I think if you go in with a sponge, it's honestly harder to blend. I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna kind of just dot a little bit of this around the perimeter of my face. I always like to bronze around the hairline because your natural skin color tends to be just a little bit deeper right around the perimeter of your face, and if you don't do that, I feel like your makeup just looks just like a little tiny bit less natural than if you do. I also feel like this bronzer and this CC cream play really nicely together. I've been using this combination for a long time. Like last summer, I feel like I wore these two products together in conjunction and just applied them with my fingers like this on an almost everyday basis. So I feel like that just immediately takes my skin from looking flat to looking like very sun-kissed and dimensional. It's really nice. So for blush today, I have something fun. I just picked these up very recently. These little blush duos are from a brand called the Beauty Crop, and they're a more natural beauty brand. They're cruelty-free. They use a lot of plant-based ingredients in their formulations, and I just thought their products were really kind of cool and interesting, and they're a brand not a lot of people talk about. I've wanted to try more from them for a long time now. So I have these two different color varieties. This one here is called Figget, and this one is called Papaya Don't Preach. They both look really springy and pretty. This one's a little bit more, it's a little deeper, a little more very toned. This one's obviously a little bit more coral. So I think for the purpose of today's look, I want to go with Papaya Don't Preach. Yes, and see how this works. So it looks like there's like a powder formula and a cream formula in each duo. So I'm gonna go into the cream side with my finger. That did pick up a nice amount of product. So I'm gonna start lightly. I feel like cream blush is one of those things that people are often very afraid of because they can look kind of crazy. You just gotta go with the less is more approach and then kind of blend and build, as opposed to going in really heavy and then needing to try to like take things off. It's a little bit harder to do. Yeah, I definitely got more product than I needed, even just rubbing this off in the back of my hand. You can see this is very pigmented, stains pretty well. So what I'm gonna do is go back in with my beauty sponge now, and I'm just gonna kind of pounce on top of that area, especially along like the top line, to make sure that it's blended, because sometimes if you don't do this, then you definitely look like you have more of like a harsh line. Yeah, see, now I feel like you get like a little bit of a flush, but it doesn't look so like bright or intense. Like it looks really, really natural. You just gotta go back in with that sponge and kind of just soften things out a little bit. I'm curious about the powder in here, because this almost looks like a bronzer shade. Like it's a peachy kind of a tone. It's interesting. It's like a little bit more brown. I'm curious to see how this layers on top of the cream blush. I'm actually gonna take this tulip-shaped Real Techniques blush brush, and this is the only thing about this, it's very tiny, so I'm gonna try to like pick up just a little bit of this like on the tip of the bristles here, which is a little tricksy. And I'm just gonna kind of like dust this on top of the cream blush and see kind of what happens. I think that's pretty. I feel like it adds just like a little bit of something, but it's not too intense. Maybe it just kind of like deepens up the color. It makes it a little less pink and a little bit more peach, but I like it. And then with like the little sets that I bought that those blushes came in, I also got this Glamazon Creamy Highlighting Crayon. So this looks like a sort of yellow gold pearlescent highlighter. So I figured we can give this little guy a whirl. Now, with the fact that this is still pretty new and it has a really fine tip, I don't really want to just like draw it straight on my cheekbones. So I think what I'm going to do is kind of like go onto my finger, kind of warm the product up here, and then I'll just kind of start tapping it onto my cheekbones. And that adds a really pretty glow, and I can just kind of reload, layer it up. Because again, you know, when you go in straight with a cream product, like in a stick form, and you kind of just go straight on the skin, sometimes it can pull up a foundation underneath. We don't want that to happen. So I feel like this gives a really subtle highlight, but it's very pretty. It's a much more natural kind of lit from within glow. So if you're someone that doesn't like their highlighter to be beaming and like visible from outer space, you might actually really appreciate a product like this because it looks healthy, but it's still very appropriate and easily wearable for every day. All right, so now that I've got all my cream products on, I am gonna set down just like my T-zone because I get very, very shiny. So I'm gonna go in with my Catrice Prime and Fine Mattifying Waterproof Powder with a little brush here, and I'm just gonna kind of swirl this. And then I'm just gonna kind of tap right around my nose and my forehead and my chin. I'm honestly not even gonna set down like my cheeks or anything. I want them to still look nice and glowy, but I just know this area right here needs a little shine protection. So for my eyebrows today, I'm gonna be using this Rodial Glamobrow pencil I got in my Pixi bag that I've been testing out this month. And guys, I gotta say, this pencil has impressed me a lot. It's basically identical in size and in terms of like the amount of product you get as the Brow Wiz or as my Tarte Amazonian Clay waterproof brow pencil, but the shade on this and like the texture of this product is very, very nice. I feel like it's not too warm, it's not too cool, it has just the right amount of pigmentation, very easy to work with, and I have the shade Dark Ash Brown. And I think Pixi did a good job in picking out this color for me because it is pretty perfect. So if you guys saw my subscribers choose my makeup video, you would have seen me talk about the Persona Identity palette. This was like neck and neck with the Jaclyn Hill palette in terms of what you guys wanted me to use. But the Jaclyn Hill one did win out, so I did not use this in that video. But I did say I wanted to test this palette out this month because I just picked it up during the Ulta 21 Days of Beauty sale. So this is what it looks like inside. It is basically designed to be the perfect palette for someone with brown eyes, which I have. And while this is maybe not the most springy color palette, it's pretty timeless, it's neutral, you could really wear this at any time of the year. But one of you guys was asking me to incorporate a pop of color into a future look on the lower lash line, so I thought in the spirit of keeping things springy and maybe bringing in a little bit more color, I want to use this Karity palette that I have. This is the Unicorn Dreams palette, and this has some really fun pops of color and pastel shades, so I'm thinking that we can dip into this to kind of spice things up a little bit. So I'm going to grab a fluffy blending brush here, and I'm going to go into the shade Charming, which is like a mid-toned matte brown. We're going to start this in the transition, kind of like a pretty standard makeup look, nothing revolutionary. Also, as a little handy tip, if you have pretty deep set eyes like I do, you may want to open your eyes when you're blending your crease so you can see exactly where the color is placed. Because when my eyes are closed, it tends to make it seem like I want to place color lower, but then when my eyes open, you can't even see the crease color at all. So if my eyes are opened a little bit while I'm blending, I realize I actually have to apply the color like higher up almost onto my brow bone just because of the way my eyes are shaped. There is a fair amount of fallout from the pans with these shadows, just as an FYI. Like when I dip my brush into a color, I'm pretty gentle and pretty light-handed when I tap a brush into an eyeshadow, but you definitely do get some kickback. But they are pigmented and pretty easy to blend on the eyes. I have enjoyed using this palette the couple of times I have worn shadows from it, so I'm excited to play around with it some more. So now that I've got that transition shade nicely built up, I'm gonna go into Humble up here. This is just like a matte pinky bone shade, and I'm just gonna take this on the brow bone just to soften things up a little bit. And I can always go back in with Charming and add a little more. I just want to make sure everything is really soft and blended. Now I'm going to go in with the shade Seductive over here in the top right of the palette. I'm just going to use my finger. This looks like a really beautiful shimmery shade. And I'm just going to pat this gently all over the lid to add some shine. That's really beautiful, and without any like setting spray or anything, I feel like it shows up really nicely. So now I want to dip into this Karity palette here. Look at that unicorn. So fun. So let's see, what kind of fun thing could we add to our look today? I know in my last look I used purple, so this time I'm thinking maybe I want to do something blue. I'm really into this shade up here called Mystical. That looks gorgeous. And also right next to it is this really fun like aqua kind of a shade. All right, so what I think I'm going to do is I think I'm gonna start with the aqua color. I have no idea how this is gonna go. I'm gonna grab a little pencil brush and I'm gonna start by smudging this on the lower lash line first. And I'm gonna take this all the way from the outer corner of my eye to the inner corner. And then what I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take Mystical, which was that shimmery kind of aqua shade, and I'm going to apply this to the inner corner. And maybe along like the bottom lash line, kind of in the inner third. That one is super pigmented and a lot of fun. And I actually think I'm gonna pick up this white kind of shade here called Spark, and I'm just gonna maybe layer just a little bit of this kind of right on top, just to kind of lighten the inner corner so it doesn't look quite as shadowy. And then I think to finish things off, I feel like I need maybe just a teeny bit more depth. I'm gonna go into the shade Maverick here on my fluffy blending brush, and I'm just gonna add a little bit of this to the outer corner to deepen things up just a tad. All right, so this may be like totally crazy and like over the top, but I really want to play with this super bad. I picked up one of these liquid fairy lights from Pixi. This is in the shade Crystalline, and it is just super glittery and fun, and I think this might be a dupe for the Stila Glitter and Glow eyeshadows. This one has like a multicolored, like reflective glitter in it. So I'm just gonna pop just like a little bit of this, kind of like in the inner portion of the eye. Not gonna go too crazy. I might just kind of tap it with my fingers just to make sure that it is blended in there. Oh, that is fun. That is a lot of fun, and it is very, very intensely sparkly. I dig that. I feel like this eye look went from everyday to artistic in a hot second, but that's entirely fine. I'm gonna curl my lashes. I'm gonna throw on some mascara. We're still using the Essence False Lashes Mascara Dramatic Volume Unlimited. I've been enjoying this one a lot. And then finally, I have got 4 different little lippies here from the Beauty Crop. These are their lip brulees, and I'm very excited to use these. I've only tried out one shade so far, and they have a very interesting texture. They're not really a liquid lipstick, but not really a gloss either, but they're not like a lacquer that's really thick and heavy on the lips. Kind of like somewhere in between all of that. So I think I'm gonna try this shade today, Butterscotch, which is more of a nude shade. Let me swatch it so we can see. Well, all right, so this one's kind of like a light pinky color. Let me actually just see what else we're working with. I've got Peach, Melba. This one's more of a like a bright coral. And I've got Gumdrop. Gumdrop is more of a like true mauve-y pink. And then Candy Floss. And that's Candy Floss right there. Which of these do I think? Maybe I actually want to wear Candy Floss. That might actually work the best with the look that we created today. So this formula is really interesting because it doesn't dry down and it feels very thin and almost a little bit oily on the lips. Like, it reminds me of applying a lip oil, except it's got pigment in it. So it's really just like an interesting texture, but it's not drying at all, and it does have more opacity than a lip gloss, but it's not sticky in, like, not even remotely. It's got that more slippery feel to it. I do feel like this is the kind of product that you kind of have to be careful with because it could easily slip and slide around on your lips, especially since it doesn't dry down. But it is pretty. And I feel like this color is very summery. So here's our final look. I'm enjoying it. It definitely is colorful and springy. I went a little bit more crazy with the eyes than I was anticipating originally, but there's nothing wrong with having a little bit of fun. Obviously, you don't have to go with the glitter and the pop of color if you don't want to. But I'm enjoying it. I feel like it's kind of fun. I do really love the way that this lip pairs with the cheek color. I feel like it's very fresh. I like it paired with the foundation that's a little less heavy. It's a little bit more dewy. I didn't go crazy setting down my face today, which I think is nice for the springtime, just keeping things a little bit lighter, a little less matte. I think the highlights are very pretty, very subtle, very nice for every day, especially if you're someone that doesn't like a really bold, intense highlight. And all in all, I'm pretty pleased. I feel like this was fun. This came out pretty well. Anyway, that is it for today. Thank you guys again so much for hanging out with me. Hopefully this was fun, informative. Hopefully it was helpful to see some of these products in action, especially if you were interested in them. If you guys recreate this look or create your own spring looks, make sure you tag me on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook so that I can see them and check them out. All of my social handles will be at the end of this video in the little end card, so make sure you go follow me over there if you haven't already. And if you're not subscribed to my channel, I hope you will click that button and come back for my next video. And yeah, I think that's about it. I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.